Martin?
Yeah, no. Listen, I cannot stop. I have to get to the dry cleaners before they close. Otherwise, I cannot wear my worsted wool, double-breasted Martin Farringtoni suit for my 8:30 res this evening at Ferry Moco. The Times calls their watermelon gazpacho a truly sensational take on summer refreshment. Truly dazzling. I have other options, but I have to wear my worsted wool tonight because Tiffany is against cotton or whatever. I only wear cotton anyway for Stephanie, but she's up in the Hamptons this weekend with Hyundai and Madeline, so no problemo. Anyway, listen, I really must dash. I have a squash game booked in 30 minutes with Van der Vassepon at Studio Ferry Moco, and I cannot be late. I need to know how he could afford the SL, even though I've got the E, and I earn more money than he does. Ciao for now. Welcome back to the 10K Ferrari Challenge. We're on car 3, which is great. We're back at the unit here. There's been loads going on. We had great fun at Hampton Auctions a couple of weeks ago now. If you haven't seen that video, check the link. There, maybe, probably there. We had a super time there. I sold a load of cars. I lost quite a lot of money, but I bought a couple of absolute beauties. Proper Mike Brewer. Bought a couple of beauties, mate. We got paid full hammer amount as well, which is absolutely perfect. At Hampton Auction, of course, there's no entry fee and there's also no seller fee. So anyway, here is car 3. Only joking. My God. If you did see the video at the auction, you'll know that I put my hand up for this little beauty right at the end. It was going through auction, it was sat at £500, then it went £600, and I just felt sorry for the old girl. So £700 I paid, and here we are, Triumph 1300. And I was super happy to bring it home with me. I stuck it on eBay a couple of days ago, and look where we are. £680, fantastic. So we're only £21 away from making a profit on this whole thing, and 5 whole days to go on the auction. My dad actually had one of these. He bought it for £200 in 1980. So what's that, about 50 grand in today's money, Blair? Something like that, I think. Yeah, so he bought it in Lincolnshire, drove up to Preston, and it died. And that was the end of that. So I think surely I'm winning. Uncle Simon actually had one of these as well, actually the 1500. And he scrapped it, and he's convinced that it was in better nick than this is when he scrapped it. So whatever. The actual car 3 is over there. Glorious Mercedes E220 Cabriolet. Blair, let's cue the 90s music and cut to the brawl. Brawl, you know, like the stuff that barbers use and car detailers, all that slow motion stuff. Brawl.
You mean B-roll?
Cut to the brawl. Oh, 1st of August, 1995. I remember it like it was 27 years ago. I was 9 years old, and like I did on every 1st of August, I was eagerly clambering aboard my bicycle to go for a bike ride. See, back in those days, we lived on RAF bases overseas, and servicemen and women, thank you, were granted tax-free car buying. So every 1st of August, I would hop off on my bicycle and go and hunt for new registrations. With the money being what it was, and with midnight collections, I was guaranteed to yield a bounty. Or a whisper gold, actually, that I'd pick up at the NAFI for 50 pfennigs. Great. A solid ride around the airmen's quarters would throw up all sorts of beauties. Toyota Picnics, Carinas, Peugeot 806s, They were a big thing at the time as well. But I'd often find an Alfa GTV or a Spider, which was Autocar's Car of the Year that year, and they were everywhere, particularly 3.2 V6s. To be fair, the best car I saw on that day was, as soon as I walked out of the house, my next door neighbour replaced his Mondeo V6 in petrol blue with a Volvo 850 T5 R in cream yellow, anthracite wheels. It looked epic. But the car that, and it's going to sound stupid because I've got one here, but the car that always jumped out on me that sort of time of my life was one of these. I'd always go and see my friend James, whose dad was a wing commander on base. We would then cycle around and see what we could find. Right next to his house, there was one of these on the driveway in the same azurite blue metallic color, and I was obsessed with it. I jumped off my bike, ran as fast as my little Seeker-clad feet would carry me, and I couldn't believe how elegant it was, the pillarless design of the car, and just how big it was at the time. Think about this. You couldn't buy a four-seater Cabriolet that was this sort of size at the time. You'd had Saab 900s, you had Audi Cabriolets, but they wouldn't seat 4 adults as comfortably as this big boat here. So when I was at Hampson Auctions, this beauty hit me so hard in the face, just like all that time ago when I tried riding a bike down Hill 60 on RAF Bruggen and went into a tree. And now here I am 27 years later, feeling as giddy as I did as a 9-year-old. God, just look at this. Introducing an automobile whose nearest competitor was built over 20 years ago by us. God, remember when car adverts were so great, full of spiel and information and 0 to 60 times, and our car's the best. If you buy something else, you're a loser. Whereas these days, it's all, we've got a nice, fluffy, wonderful car. But then again, so have a lot of our competitors. So why don't you test them all out and make the best decision for you and your family? Mind you, that was a bit sexy, wasn't it? I'd probably buy their soft and fluffy car. Yay! So mine is a 3-owner car. E220 Cabriolet. Slow as all hell, but that doesn't matter. 2 miles an hour so everybody sees you. That's how great the car looks. You don't need to go fast. It just wafts along effortlessly. And you know, even though it's quite a blocky design, it really stands out in today's world as being this modern classic Mercedes that it is. The previous owner of this car was actually in the room at Hampson's auction when I put my hand up for it. They have had the car for a good few years. Unfortunately, they're getting to an age where they can't really get out to enjoy it. So that was the decision made. Let's pop it in the auction, pull some money out, and enjoy our retirement. I, in turn, have ended up with an enthusiast-owned, glorious piece of engineering. And one thing I always, there you are, one thing I always look at on a car that I buy is the tires. I like to get an idea of the level of care that the previous keeper had. Sometimes you'll see odd tires all over the place. There'll be unpronounceable ching-chong ditch finders on one corner and cheapies on the other. But all 4 of these tires are Michelin Cross Climate. So perfect tire, great for performance, and it just shows that the owner actually cared. See, if someone's happy to spend proper money on proper tires, it means they'll spend money all around the car if anything needs addressing. And from that point of view, everything's been spent. Mechanically, it's absolutely delightful. Loads and loads of service stamps in the book, mostly Mercedes, and certainly most recently Mercedes under the previous keeper's ownership. Condition-wise, it's delicious. You know, you saw it at the auction. I saw it at the auction. Blair, you saw it at the auction. We all fell in love with the car completely. Blair actually drove the car back from the auction because I had to put the Triumph in the trailer. And to be fair, if Blair had a nice car to swap, I think this would be on his driveway, wouldn't it, mate? Yeah, of course it would. Bar a couple of stone chips, a couple of super light scratches about the place, that's about it. A couple of the wheels perhaps would want refurbishing. If I was keeping them, that is. Spoiler alert, all the glass is great. The roof is absolutely delightful. Bits of bird poo because I've got seagulls nesting on the roof. But apart from that, there's no rips, there's no tears, there's no folds, there's nothing wrong with the roof whatsoever. And the mechanism is perfect as well. Couple of bits around the back, just some light scratching, but I'm fairly sure my mate Brian at Alchemy Detailing will sort those out. Another thing that marks this car as absolute prestige worldwide was a glass rear screen, not the plastic rear screen that you'd get on most convertibles of the 90s. Speaking of the roof, let's get it off. Hey baby, wanna come for a ride? Take a look, my God, it's delicious. The interior is absolutely spotless. Grey leather everywhere, wooden, proper wood maybe plastic, I don't know. It was the 90s, there was a transitional period, so it's all okay. But 2 sets of carpet overmats here, normal carpets, proper Merc ones, and then overmats. Absolutely love them. Sounded like I trumped them, but I didn't. It was my foot on the footrest. My favourite thing about the car altogether, though, just this. Absolutely epic. All these windows down, pillarless design. It just looks incredible. I cannot think of a more elegant cabriolet, to be fair, that's ever been made. Certainly not until the mid-90s. I absolutely adore it. I think that's probably coming across, isn't it, Blair? That I really like this car. It's going to be a big problem for me to swap it. We've got electric memory seats, which are heated, by the way. And a Sony stereo system, which I think might have been original. It's a cassette. We've got a 6 CD in the boot as well as a wind deflector. It's got everything. Super, super spec'd, super, super nice. By the time I'm finished with it, in my eyes, it's going to look even more super, super nice. Anyway, let's go for a spin. Come on. Ooh, thank you so much. I really love that. Properly just feeds you the seatbelt. So what are the plans for this beautiful old bird? Well, I did hint at the idea at the auction that I fancied gangsterfying it somewhat. So I do have some parts on order. They're coming over from Europe. So yeah, I didn't think about that. I'll have all sorts of taxes to pay, won't I, actually? And in the meantime, while I'm waiting for those, I'm gonna give the car another service. It was last done at Mercedes in Cheshire Oaks this time last year, but only about 1,000 miles ago. However, still gonna give it a service. There's a couple of small bits of paint that I want to address, and we're gonna get Brian at Alchemy Detailing in to give it a full paint correction as well. Genuinely, can't wait to show you what it will look like when it's finished. And honestly, I don't think I'm gonna want to swap it. So that's the end. Blair, thanks for everything. See you later. I'm keeping this. I'm not. That would be pointless. For this 1,000,000-mile Mercedes, if you take a look, Blair, we've got a long way to go. 65,000 miles only in a car that is 27 years old. It's been tickled throughout its life. It's been driven with love and joy. So for now, to finish off, let's have some lovely footage of me cruising. See you next time. Love you all dearly.